Welcome, thrill seekers, to the dark underbelly of human history. Prepare yourselves for a chilling descent into the minds of the most notorious figures to ever haunt the annals of crime. I'm your guide through this twisted labyrinth, and today we embark on a journey into the abyss with the first volume of our serial killer trivia series. From the shadows of depravity emerge the names that send shivers down spines. Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, Aileen Wuornos. These are not just names, they are the harbingers of horror, the architects of nightmares. But fear not, for in our pursuit of knowledge, we aim to understand what drove these monsters to their heinous deeds. But we're not here merely to recount tales of terror. We're here to challenge your wits, to test your knowledge of the macabre. So, prepare to delve into the darkest recesses of human psychology, where every twist and turn reveals another layer of madness. And remember, fellow seekers of truth, your journey doesn't end until you've faced every chilling revelation. So, buckle up, subscribe to our channel, and smash that like button as we embark on this bone-chilling odyssey. Stick around till the end to see how you fare on our scorecard, because in this realm of darkness, only the bravest souls emerge victorious. Now let's begin. The Yorkshire Ripper, responsible for the murder of at least 13 women, operated in which country? Was it A. United States, B. England, C. Australia, or D. Canada? If you answered B. England, you are correct. Beginning in the late 1960s, Peter Sutcliffe terrorized Yorkshire and Manchester, targeting primarily women, including sex workers. Using a hammer, knife, or screwdriver, he killed at least 13 victims and left 8 others with severe injuries. His crimes peaked between 1975 and 1980. Sutcliffe's first known attack was in 1969, and he escalated to murder in 1975, with his first victim being Wilma McCann. His hatred towards prostitutes was a justification he developed for his crimes. The media dubbed him the Yorkshire Ripper after he killed 4 women in 1977, drawing national attention. Which serial killer, known as the Boston Strangler, murdered 13 women in the Boston area during the early 1960s? Was it A. Richard Ramirez, B. John Wayne Gacy, C. Albert DeSalvo, or D. Ed Gein? If you answered C, Albert DeSalvo, you are correct. Albert DeSalvo was an American murderer, rapist, and serial killer in Boston, who purportedly confessed to being the Boston Strangler, the murderer of 13 women in the Boston area from 1962 to 1964. Who was the serial killer who murdered at least 8 women in Florida between 1989 and 1990, earning the nickname the Gainesville Ripper? Was it A. Jeffrey Dahmer, B. Ted Bundy, C. Richard Ramirez, or D. Danny Rowling? If you answered D, Danny Rowling, you are correct. Danny Rowling. They called him the Gainesville Ripper, and he was allegedly the inspiration for the horror movie Scream. In 1990, and murdered 4 University of Florida students and a Santa Fe Community College student in their apartments with a United States Marine Corps military-style K-bar knife by stabbing, slicing, mutilating, raping, and even decapitating some of his victims. Who was the serial killer who murdered at least 33 young men and boys in Illinois during the 1970s, often luring them with the promise of work? Was it A. Ted Bundy, B. John Wayne Gacy, C. Jeffrey Dahmer, or D. Ed Gein? If you answered B, John Wayne Gacy, you are correct. John Wayne Gacy was a serial killer, sex offender who tortured and raped and murdered at least 33 young men and boys around the Chicago, Illinois area. He became known as the Killer Clown because of his day job, where he performed as a clown for children's parties. Which serial killer, also known as the Candyman, murdered at least 28 young men in Houston, Texas during the 1970s and 1980s? Was it A. Dean Call, B. Ted Bundy, C. Jeffrey Dahmer, or D. David Berkowitz? If you answered A, Dean Call, you are correct. Dean Arnold Call was a serial killer and sex offender who abducted, raped, tortured, and murdered a minimum of 28 teenage boys and young men between 1970 and 1973 in Houston and Pasadena, Texas. Which serial killer, also known as the Kansas City Butcher, murdered at least 6 men in Missouri during the 1980s? Was it A. Otis Toole, B. Richard Ramirez, C. Robert Bordella, or D. Robert Hansen? If you answered C, Robert Bordella, you are correct. Robert Bordella, aka Bob Bordella, kidnapped, tortured, raped, and murdered at least 6 men in the Kansas City, Missouri area between 1984 and 1987. Bob Bordella was also a store owner and owned a store in Westport, Kansas, called Bob's Bizarre Bazaar. Which serial killer, also known as the Rostov Ripper or the Red Ripper, was responsible for the murders of at least 52 women and children in the Soviet Union between 1978 and 1990? Was it A. Andrei Chikatilo, B. Anatoly Onoprienko, C. Alexander Pichushkin, or D. Mikhail Popkov? If you answered A. Andrei Chikatilo, you are correct. Andrei Romanovich Chikatilo was a Ukrainian-born Soviet killer who sexually assaulted, mutilated, and murdered at least 52 women and children between 1978 and 1990 in the Russian SFSR, the Ukrainian SSR, and the Uzbek SSR. Which serial killer, also known as the Grim Sleeper, murdered at least 10 women in Los Angeles, California between 1985 and 2007? Was it A. Richard Ramirez, B. Rodney Alcala, C. Lonnie Franklin Jr., or D. Robert Pickton? If you answered C. Lonnie Franklin Jr., you are correct. Lonnie David Franklin Jr., known as the Grim Sleeper, was an American serial killer responsible for at least 10 murders and 1 attempted murder in Los Angeles, California from 1984 to 2007. His crimes also included rape and sexual violence. Franklin earned his nickname due to a 14-year hiatus from his crimes from 1988 to 2002. In July 2010, he was arrested as a suspect. His trial began in February 2016, and on May 5, 2016, the jury convicted him for killing 9 women and 1 teenage girl. They recommended the death penalty on June 6, 2016, and on August 10, 2016, he was sentenced to death for each victim. Franklin was found dead in his cell at San Quentin State Prison on March 28, 2020. Who was the American serial killer known as the BTK killer, which stands for Bind, Torture, Kill, who murdered 10 people between 1974 and 1991? Was it A. Ted Bundy, B. John Wayne Gacy, C. Dennis Rader, or D. Gary Ridgway? If you answered C, Dennis Rader, you are correct. Dennis Rader, infamously known as BTK for his modus operandi of bind, torture, kill, perpetrated a series of gruesome murders in Wichita, Kansas, spanning from 1974 to 1991. His chilling spree claimed the lives of 10 innocent individuals. What set him apart was not just the brutality of his crimes, but his brazen taunting of law enforcement and media. Rader would send detailed letters recounting his heinous acts, often including mementos from his victims, creating a chilling atmosphere of fear and unease in the community. Despite years of investigation, Rader remained elusive until 2005, when advancements in forensic technology finally led to his capture. He was subsequently convicted and sentenced to serve 10 consecutive life terms in a Kansas prison, where he remains incarcerated to this day, serving as a reminder of the depths of human depravity. Which serial killer, also known as the Coastal Killer or the Casanova Killer, murdered at least 7 women in California during the 1970s and 1980s? Was it A. Ted Bundy, B. Edmund Kemper, C. David Berkowitz, or D. Rodney Alcala? If you answered D. Rodney Alcala, you are correct. Rodney James Alcala, an American serial killer and convicted sex offender, was sentenced to death in California for the murders of 5 women between 1977 and 1979. Additionally, he received a 25-year-to-life sentence after pleading guilty to 2 more homicides in New York State in 1971 and 1977. Alcala's heinous acts of violence and manipulation shook the nation, highlighting the importance of thorough criminal investigation and justice for victims. Which serial killers, also known as the Hillside Stranglers, murdered at least 10 women in Los Angeles, California during the late 1970s? Was it A. Kenneth Bianchi, B. Angelo Buono, C. Paul Bernardo, or D. Carla Homolk? If you answered A. Kenneth Bianchi and B. Angelo Buono, you are correct. Angelo Anthony Bue Jr., an American serial killer and rapist, gained notoriety as one half of the infamous Hillside Stranglers duo, alongside his adopted cousin Kenneth Bianchi. Operating in Los Angeles, California, they were convicted of the murders of 10 young women from October 1977 to February 1978. Buono's participation in these heinous crimes underscores the disturbing depths of human depravity and the imperative need for justice for the victims and their families. This concludes the first part of our serial killer trivia series. Thank you for joining me here at Fact Fusion Trivia, exploring the chilling world of serial killers in Volume 1 of our trivia series. If you found this video intriguing, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more spine-tingling content. Before we sign off, I'd love to hear from you. What subject would you like us to explore in our next trivia series? Whether it's true crime, history, science, or something entirely different, let us know in the comments below. Your input helps shape the content we create. Stay curious, stay safe, and remember, the truth can often be stranger than fiction. Until next time, stay vigilant.